Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that takes something that means so much to people and turns it into something trivial. It's Sif Pop. Welcome to Sif Pop Weekly, streaming live most Saturday mornings or available to download later in your podcast feed, unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patron perks!
Patron perk! Patrons, get those perks. I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and if we happen to delete his fondness for yacht rock, I would not be devastated. It's Andrew Ormsby, ladies and gentlemen.
Woohoo!
Each week we'll chat about movies, TV, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. And please welcome our guest this week, and they maybe went a little too far on his piercing blue eyes. It's Ian Whittington, everyone!
Woo! Jade. Thank you.
Jade. Sorry, his piercing
jade eyes.
Yes, a little too far indeed. We are excited to be together with you to talk movies and such. And this week we are talking about the Matrix Resurrections, which came out on HBOMax and is in theaters. And then Swan Song, which is on Apple TV Plus. We're going to talk about that movie as well. And then we'll do best ever technology movies as well as our buried treasure. How's everybody doing this week? This will, I believe, come out Christmas weekend, or they're, close, probably right after Christmas weekend. So
yeah.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, I had so much fun. How about you guys?
Yes, I'm sure I did.
Just
indeed.
Yuletide merriment all around.
Yuletide, my tide, all of our tides.
Who's having a Mai Tai? I'll have a Mai Tai.
Who's fighting in Muay Thai? I love fighting in Muay Thai.
As long as it's not a Tide Pod, then we'll be doing fine.
Yeah.
Yes, we hope your holiday season has already been amazing and will continue to be amazing as we head into 2022. I will let you know we've got some fun shows coming up. One's already in the can. Next week, you should be hearing the most anticipated of 2022 show, which is already in the can, which I get to say on this show, even though I will say something different next week. Yes, we know John Wick 4 has now been pushed to 2023.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Listen, we will say it again next week, but doing a most anticipated show during these days that we're in is not an easy job. So thank you for the grace that you'll give us next week. And, honestly, thank you for the grace you'll give us this week as we talk about movies as well. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's kick it off with some thoughts on The Matrix Resurrections. Plagued by strange memories, Neo's life takes an unexpected turn when he finds himself back inside The Matrix. The Matrix changed movies in 1999. I don't think that's an overstatement. It came along and changed what could be done with action films and the sort. And now they are back. It's just Lana this time, Lana Wachowski. Directing this one. Keanu Reeves is back. Carrie-Anne Moss is back. You've also got Jada Pinkett Smith back. Neil Patrick Harris showing up for a cup of coffee, as well as Jonathan Groff, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and others. What did you guys think? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay? Ian, kick us off. The Matrix Resurrections. What do you think?
I didn't like it. I'm sad.
High-sided didn't like it, maybe, or just like solid didn't like it?
Yeah, high side of I'm like what's the yeah, whatever. It's the, yeah, man.
Close to okay.
Close to okay. I'm like burgeoning, just like rippling.
Yeah. Teetering.
But I didn't like it. Teetering, good word. Much like
Aaron?
Neo himself.
What do you think?
I am firmly and didn't like it, unfortunately. I did not like this movie. Andrew, what about you?
Hated it.
Oh my.
Dear. Oh my. Okay.
This is going to be great.
Negativity abounds. Well, Ian, sounds like you liked it the most. Tell us what
No,
you
I did
loved.
not. Don't you put that on me. No.
Why do you think I made you say you were teetering on it was just okay? So I could say solid side of didn't like it, and you get to love it the most. So Ian, tell us why this movie is amazing.
Every single time. Yeah, it's great. There's actors in it, and they got paid to act in a movie. And yeah, no, it's so the first hour of the film is so self-aware. It to the point that Warner Brothers name checks itself. It is so self-aware, and I can see that working for some people. And defenders I've seen say that that's actually a bit of the film that almost works for them. But yeah, for me, I just was cringing the whole way through that. It spends an hour saying, "Hey, you remember the other 3 movies that we had, and how Hollywood likes to reboot things and resurrect stuff? And that's not what this movie's doing, but it's definitely what this movie is doing. And don't look at us while we do it." And then it morphs into, hey, this is the cool stuff that we did in the other movies, but it's kind of revisiting the same ground, but less. It's like if it gives you a load of big fight scenes and a lot of sexy stuff to look at, that's enough, and that's what we want. And it's not. I want something more. Like, there is nothing different to this story that we've seen in the other 3 films, and it just felt really exhausting to have to rehash the same stuff again. Like, I really felt for Neo, because he seemed so tired throughout the entire film. Just like, well, I was kind of happy that the Matrix was my world, and now I'm back here, but I guess I have to be, because that's reality, and I love Trinity, so I kind of have to go and rescue her. It felt like so little thought went into making an original story, but they still managed to cram so much in. It's trying to do so much work. It's the classic trying to set up almost a new generation for the Matrix and passing the gauntlet, but then spending far too much time replaying the hits. So yeah, bugged me. I was miserable watching the film.
Well, that, I certainly identify with a lot of what you're saying. I think we can focus pretty quickly on what I would call the Metatrix of it all, because it is so meta and not just at the beginning. The entire movie is really self-aware in a way that's distracting.
Yes,
I think as opposed to beneficial. That self-awareness doesn't really do much for the movie. No. It's interesting. We're dealing with these last few weeks of the year, 3 movies that are essentially attempting to do very similar things. Spider-Man: No Way Home, Matrix Resurrections, and The Kingsman. Now, they're all doing it in different ways, but all of them essentially saying, here is IP that people know and maybe love, and we're going to try to put a spin on it, bring it forward in a way that makes sense and is fun. And man, I'm just bummed that The Matrix is the one that's going to get this wrong. It just feels like everything that they're trying to say about pop culture is also the thing that they're doing, and not only the thing that they're doing, but almost the thing at the end of their movie, no spoilers, we'll do a SIF spoil on this, but almost the thing that the end of their movie is going, well, actually, maybe this is okay. It's like, then what is the movie trying to say? And I think at the end of the day, that's probably why I did have quite a bit of difficulty with it. I will tell you, I came out of this movie mixed, kind of leaning negative, but a little bit mixed. And the further I get away from it, the less I like it. Like the more things I think about it, the more it just all falls apart.
Yeah.
And that's really unfortunate. I love the Matrix movies, and there's so many things I want to talk about on the negative side, and so few things I want to talk about on the positive side. But we will get there. I do have some positives to say, but I do want to hear Andrew's kind of hated it summary before we get into any kind of specifics.
This is all I'll say for the entire review of The Matrix. I typed it all out because otherwise I would be swearing, and that's not allowed on this show.
Oh, wow. Man, you are like low side of hated it or high side, however you want to say it.
Do we have another one?
Despised it or something, yeah.
Yeah, true disdain.
Yeah.
The Matrix Resurrection is a truly awful sequel that will leave you believing the first two sequels are works of art. A quarter of this film is flashback scenes from the first three movies. The characters are dull and lifeless, besides Jessica Henwick, who I thought was great. The combat is terribly shot. There are so many quick cuts and shaky cams to hide the fact that some of these actors are in their 50s. But the worst thing of all is this movie learned nothing from the first two sequels. What was amazing about the first film was that it was a unique concept in a familiar world with well-choreographed action. The sequels, though, got so far up their own butts with half-realized philosophies and biblical metaphors. This new film does all of those mistakes, but makes new ones as well. It not only makes the mistakes of being metaphorical, but it's also insufferably meta. It's so close to self-actualization that it's almost Deadpool. You had almost 20 years, and this is the best sequel you could imagine. I am so horribly disappointed that you decided to make the next Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh,
wow.
I love, like, hated it so much. He's directing it right to the creators. He's like, "You did this to me.
You
like,
did
just
this."
The
vitriol,
the vitriol of fandom coming through.
And, one last thing, since that's all I'm going to say. There is a post-credit scene. You don't have to see that. You also don't have to see the pre-credit scenes, as far as I'm concerned.
There are no scenes that Andrew thinks you need to see. Well, I don't think Andrew has much nice to say about this movie, Ian. So I guess that's going to be up to us.
Well, I did say Jessica Henwick. I really liked her.
That is true. That is true. Actually, I guess what Andrew's saying is the rest of the review is up to us, Ian. He's already said
apparently
everything.
So. I think he's checked out. He's actually left the room.
Yeah, I think so.
One more
thing.
He
is unplugged.
This movie made me so infuriated. I forgot we had a second movie this week, and I didn't see it.
Andrew, that's too bad. Oh man, that is wow.
Well, I take it back. I panicked, and I saw the first 30 minutes of the other movie. But I couldn't.
That's amazing.
Honestly, Aaron, just like you, as I left the theater, I was on the lower spectrum, but I'm like, man, I didn't like that. And the farther away I got from it, I'm like, oh, that was really bad. Oh, I hated that. Oh, I really hated that. Oh, the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull me. Oh, my.
Yeah. I think, wow, how can we say some nice things? By the way, whenever we have like a 3 for 3 with negative thoughts, I always do want to be careful to say that we understand how difficult it is to make movies. And it is a miracle that any movie ever gets made. And, and there will be guaranteed many people who love this movie. And we want you to know that's great. We celebrate that. That's exciting that you had a great time with this movie. Just because the three of us did not like it and one of us despised it, doesn't mean that invalidates your feelings. Your feelings are valid, and I always want to try to make sure and say that kind of stuff, especially when we're 3 for 3 on the didn't like it scale.
Doesn't invalidate your enjoyment of it.
No, not at all. Not at all. Things that I may have enjoyed include the performance that Andrew already mentioned. I actually think there are a couple performances in here I like. I like Neil Patrick Harris as well. I think he's chewing scenery for sure, but I think it's a lot of fun. I think there are some cool visual ideas here. The problem, every positive is going to come with a negative. I apologize because there are no positives in this movie that I can just out and out go, that was amazing. Maybe the score. Maybe if I listen to the score again, maybe I'd feel that it's great. But yeah, the problem that comes with some of these interesting visuals is they're interspersed with really, really baffling visual choices. They make some visual choices in some of the cooler moments that involve like low frame rate movement. And
with Neil Patrick Harris? I thought it was accidental. I didn't think it was deliberate.
Well, obviously it's deliberate. It's just
that's how bad it looked.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And so you've got a cool kind of thing going on. By the way, a cool thing I don't even understand. This is another negative. Sorry. But so you've got cool visuals going on, but then they're interspersed again and kind of undercut by just these strange visual choices that I did not understand very, very much at all. So yes, there are some frames you could hang on your wall, right? Like there's definitely some beautiful stuff here that you could put in a frame, hang on your wall. It'll look gorgeous. But it doesn't, it doesn't make the story any better. It doesn't make the what's going on any better. Ian, save me. What's something else you wanted to talk about?
So I really like the trailer for this film.
Oh man, we are stretching now.
Genuinely, the way this trailer is put together, A, lied to me, and B, but it's such a cheat because it just plays the White Rabbit song. And the way that builds to a climax, like that's a great 2-minute film on its own. That is like tingles all the way. Love it. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Groff, not the best I've seen him, but I love seeing him. The stuff that happens at the end of the film with him baffled the... I don't know, can I say... I'm not going to say that word. It baffled the whatsits off of me. The dog's whatsits. But... The scenes
if you're thinking of the English version, then go for it. Like over here, that doesn't mean anything. So
okay, great. Yeah, it baffled the bollocks off of me. But him in the first half of the film is fantastic. Like him chewing scenery and Neil Patrick Harris chewing scenery was great. I'll have more movies of them too. So I think the quasi recasting of them was fantastic. So Swan song. That's all I've got. Yeah, there were some bits that were pretty.
Maybe I'll save some of the other stuff for the SIP spoiler. There's so much we could talk about here. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that are wasted in this movie. Let's just sum it up in this way. Yes. Like there are characters wasted, there are actors wasted, there are moments wasted, there are plot lines wasted. This movie doesn't
time wasted.
Yes, Andrew. Yes, definitely.
About 2 hours and 37 minutes of time.
It is long.
Oh god,
too.
this
it's like
movie
2
would
hours.
not
Damn long.
Damn long.
So yeah, I among the most baffling of them is Christina Ricci. As Gwen Dervier. And just in one, did I miss something? Just one scene, right? Just like a boardroom scene, and that's all. Like
I think so.
And not even
I was
really
like
doing much.
That's Christina Ricci. That's cool. This person might come back late. Nope.
So yeah, just a lot of waste in this movie. And you know what we do with waste? Flush it down the toilet. That's what we do.
Put it in the bin.
Put it in the bin. Man, I genuinely, you know me. I feel bad when I don't like movies. I feel even worse when none of us like them. Maybe we should just move on.
One to defend it.
Yeah, maybe we should just move on. And then, if you want more Matrix Resurrections bashing, feel free to play the Sift spoil that will be coming here in the feed.
We gotta talk about this movie more, don't we?
I have one last thing.
All right, one last thing.
And it is positive, kind of. It's pretty harmless. So you can watch the film. It doesn't... that's probably spoilery. This shouldn't affect your watching of the first three or the first one. You know, sometimes you see a sequel so bad it actually discolors the first film or the previous films. Mm-hmm. I don't think this does that.
Okay, fair enough.
It is so far separated in time that I think that helps.
I guess I will say one last thing just so we make sure and end on a negative.
Great.
Just to make sure.
Just to make sure. My one last thing is probably the most surprising thing in the movie that I didn't like. The most surprising part of the movie that I didn't like is the fact that the action is terrible.
It's so bad.
In some of the action scenes.
It's so
I
bad.
could not believe this was a Matrix movie. There are action scenes, especially early on, that are cut more furiously and worse than Marvel movies. Like it's just terrible.
Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of? Taken 3. You know, they had to hide the fact that Liam Neeson is 4,000 years old, so they had to do 15 cuts of him trying to jump a fence. You know?
Yeah. The last time I remember feeling it this strongly actually was Catwoman with Halle Berry is cut this way. It's terrible action. I know, strange pull, but these are strange days. All right, let's move out of the Matrix, shall we? Let's move into our next review of the first 30 minutes of Swan Song.
Yeah.
In the near future, Cameron Turner is diagnosed with a terminal illness. Presented with an experimental solution to shield his wife and son from grief, he grapples with altering their fate. Swan Song stars Mahershala Ali, two-time Oscar winner Mahershala Ali, Naomi Harris, Awkwafina, and Glenn Close. Comes from Apple. It's an Apple original and is out on Apple TV Plus. What did you guys think? Did you like, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay? Andrew, do you have an answer for the first 30 minutes?
I'm loving it so far.
Okay.
I really am. Yeah.
All right. So Andrew is in the process of loving it. Ian, what about you?
Very high side of liked it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm on the low side of loved it. This is my kind of movie, and there's some reasons for the low side, but for the most part, I'm gonna gush on this one, especially because we need some positivity in our life after that last review.
We do.
So yes, if you want a movie this week with amazing visual effects that will tell you about what the future might be like, go with the Swan
You didn't
Song.
think it was going to be this one, did you?
Nope, didn't think it was going to be this one, but it is. So I think I liked it the most, although Andrew is in process. But so I'll kick us off. I think for me, with a movie like this one, I had very similar feelings to when I watched Her the first time, which
That's exactly what I was going to say.
the audience knows my love for the movie Her, and the reason I love these kinds of movies is that they find a way to take an optimistic look at technology and the future, while at the same time not being a rose-colored glasses look. You understand the difference? It's not like
It's not Utopia.
It's not utopia. It is saying, look, technology is going to continue to advance, do amazing things. There will always be problems with that, but we can use technology in the right ways, not the wrong ways. We can make good decisions with technology, and technology will change our life in incredible ways. This movie is full of tech optimism, and man, that stuff is fun for me. And it's not just the technology at the center of the story, which has to do with not cloning. I forget what they call it. It's some sort of bioengineering. It's technically different than cloning in the movie, but the idea that you can bioengineer another body for yourself and transmit your consciousness into another body. I apologize if this feels like spoilers to you. It's very clear early on, kind of what's going on in this movie.
The movie lets you know what it's about pretty early on.
Right. So yeah, it doesn't treat this stuff as any kind of plot twist or story turn or anything like that. Most of the plot in the story, and again, this is another reason I really like it, revolve around relationships. It revolves around the human aspect of how this technology impacts people. It is very much a little bit of a lighter touch Black Mirror episode, it's
if Black Mirror was optimistic about technology.
yeah.
I guess San Junipero is the only optimistic version of Black Mirror.
Yes, and San Junipero has a lot of the same themes as this movie, actually. So So yeah, Ian, what about you? What are some of your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for this kind of movie as well. It's could be a Star Trek episode, and it actually is. In Enterprise, there's a very, very similar episode where a crew member has themselves cloned to replace themselves, and it's a big moral debate about, well, how much rights does this clone have to live? And yeah, it's asking the same question. So you get a big moral dilemma and then put a film around it, and then overlay awesome actors like Mahershala Ali and Naomi Harris. Just eat it up. It's amazing, and it's the tricky thing you've got to think for actors is putting yourselves in this near future where the technology around you is just normal and it's just a way of life. But the important part is the story and the relationships, and it just absolutely nails that. Glenn Close isn't a mustache twirly villain. She just sees this technology in a very, very single-minded way, and is possibly a little bit pushy with it, but sees it for the good that it can do, and that's it. She's very, very much black and white. No pun intended with Dalmatian. Sorry. But yeah, it's just really, really satisfying, which is an odd word to use for a film like this because it's dealing with a very serious subject matter and a really with a lot of kind of sincerity and pathos as well. But it still managed to give me warm fuzzies all the way through.
And it feels real, right? Like that's another part of the reason it works is it just feels like an authentic future, which is another thing I often say about her. It just feels like the technology. You know, when you see the self-driving cars, and of course I love a movie that has self-driving cars portrayed in a nice way. You just go, yeah, that's probably how it'll work. You know, like that's exactly how it's going to work. Or the contact lenses, right?
I want those so bad.
Yeah, we're not far away. And the little robot that has a little conversation with you as it brings you food, like that's we're pretty much there with that.
Yeah, totally. Andrew, what are some of your thoughts on the first 30 minutes, and then maybe like some things you're excited about seeing the rest of it?
Yeah, well, I love the fact, and Ian hit on this a little bit, Glenn Close is kind of his technical guide. So she's not only the guide for Mahershala, but also for us. And I'm liking that. While Awkwafina, on the other hand, is his moral, emotional guide to what he's going to be going through as well. So it's having those two characters really set the foundation for everything that Mahershala is going to go through is really, really smart. I will say this. The two scenes I've seen, the flashback scenes, it's not a spoiler to say this, of Naomi Harris and Mahershala Ali actually meeting seem to be some of the most genuine, beautiful like interactions between strangers that I'm oh gosh, I want this to be everybody's story of how they met. You know, it's like
I feel like I have done that at some point.
I know I have. I mean,
that's amazing.
I didn't marry the person or anything, but I have absolutely eaten fries off of somebody else's fast food tray while waiting on my food, thinking it was mine.
Oh, that's amazing.
So because I thought they were bringing me my food, so I'm just eating the fries while I'm waiting for the rest of my food, and then they put food on there that's not mine. And person like over to my left grabs the tray and just walks away, and I'm like, they had to be watching me. They had to know I was eating their fries. They didn't say a thing. Never said a thing. So I just let it be. But yeah, no, that has happened to me for sure.
Apparently, all you had to do, Aaron, was just draw a picture of them, and everything would have been okay.
Yeah, all is forgiven.
Life would have been so different. Yeah.
Can we just talk about how much we don't deserve Mahershala Ali?
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah, he's great. He's so good.
He's so good.
Yeah,
there's not a wasted character in this film at all. No. Everyone does exactly what they need to.
Yeah. No, it's pretty incredible in that way. The other thing I wanted to mention, another reason I love the movie, is because it's not only a optimistic tech movie, it's also a conundrum movie. It's a movie that you walk away from going, what decision would I make? Would I do this? What decision would I want my partner to make? My significant other to make? My parent to make? You know, like what if this technology were real, how would I interact with it? And
real quick, what would you do?
I'm still thinking about it.
I'd do it.
For me, it's a no-brainer because this is such an arbitrary line that we're drawing of, and I say that as a really final thing, as if I have the last say. It feels like a very arbitrary line when it is the same person that has the same experiences, and they don't bake that into the story. Like there are no flaws here. They're really clear that this is him. This is Cameron. No one will ever tell the difference. Yes, the only reason I don't do that is if I'm so selfish, because I can't stand the thought of anybody being with my family other than this version of me. And for me, that's just something I'd have to put in a box and get rid of and make sure that they're happy instead. So for me, it's such an easy decision.
So I'm speaking more of, if you're just talking about the technology itself, sure, absolutely. I think you guys are right. But there's also a way that this company treats the technology, and I don't know if it's too spoilery, so I'll just kind of tiptoe around it. But it involves awareness and knowledge. Let's just say that. And that is the part for me that I don't know that I could get on board with. Like there's a part of it where it's like, sure, yes, but no. So, and again, I'm trying to tiptoe around, what I'm saying here in a way that hopefully you guys who have seen the movie will understand. But there's a secondary part to how they're using this technology that I don't think is necessary, and I might go for, let's just say, a more transparent version of this technology. So,
are you saying like where all parties involved are aware?
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh, no.
That won't work.
Yeah, that won't work for me.
It won't work.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No, I don't think it would anyway.
Understand what you're saying. I mean, and that's the from what I'm gathering from the first 30 minutes, and even that's clear to me. That's going to be the moral conundrum of the movie.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I keep thinking about.
Is it selfish or is it selfless?
Yeah.
It's
the toupee fallacy. Like, you always think that you can spot a toupee until you see a really good one that you don't spot. So if you tell the wife and
it's
the
exactly
family,
the same as a toupee. I
mean,
no,
it is. It's just a few steps further up. So if you get told that it's a toupee, of course you see it. But if it's so good that you don't know, you'll never know. And that changes. You can convince yourself that, well, the person that I'm with now isn't real.
I guess, okay, so here's why it's a conundrum for me, because I do my best to live by what is known as the golden rule, the idea that, do unto others as you would want done unto you. So, treat other people the way you want to be treated. I think it's a really great way to see the world. I would want to know. I don't know why it would change it for me. I don't know. I guess I'm just not seeing it as clearly as you guys. I know. Yes, exactly. And you think you wouldn't. That is. So that is the conundrum I find myself in. Is like, I definitely 100% would want to know, and whether or not that's a good decision or a bad decision. It feels like it should be my decision, and therefore I feel like it should be their decision.
The problem is it's never a decision you can make, because once the question is asked, it breaks the reality.
Yeah, Schrodinger's clone.
It's exactly the same. Yeah, that's damn you, Aaron. That's much better than my toupee analogy. But I think once you've opened that box, you can't put it back in, and I think the company has to. I'm not saying they should. But I think practically they have to make that decision the same rule for everybody, because
that is certainly what the movie is saying.
Exactly. Thinking about, I would be okay. So if I knew, and it was my partner or whatever that was the clone, I could rationalize that, and I would be okay. I'd be fine with it as well. But I think we might be in the minority on that. So I think you have to hide it for the sake of the majority for it to work.
Yeah. Here's how I look at it.
But that's a conundrum, right? That's at least something to chew on and think films. About. Right, exactly. And I think it's to the movie's benefit that you think about these things. Yeah.
Here's how I look at it. Hypothetically, let's say that my dad, for the last 20 years, has been a replicant of, he's the clone, Would that invalidate all the emotions, the love, the joy, the memories that I've had with him over these last 20 years?
Yes.
No. It
No,
wouldn't.
it wasn't. Of course, no.
No,
of course
it wouldn't. So that's how I look at it. Like, you're saving a family member from grief and giving them more time with you. To not think, I can see how you could.
I feel like you just made my argument, so I'm kind of confused. I feel like you just said that it wouldn't matter to know. Am I
No, it would matter to know. I'm saying
you just said if you found
if my dad,
out, would
if
it
my if my
invalidate
dad
it?
was a clone, and I didn't know,
Right,
like for the past 20 years,
right, but then you
all
found
my
out.
emotions and memories and stuff are still real.
Right.
Like if my dad is Mahershala Ali in this scenario, a tall black man, first off, he'd probably have a lot more questions about how white I am. But if I didn't know, then the only person who would suffer is the original him, you know? And I guess that's like the conundrum is like, are you willing to hurt so your family doesn't? Are you willing to take the pain so your family doesn't?
I think you're doing the same thing I'm doing. I think we just think about it differently, right? Like so because I would say the same thing. Like it may not be a pain to me. Ignorance is not bliss. To me, ignorance is ignorance. It's the knowledge. Information is so valuable to me. I want to know things. So yes, I understand what you're saying, because you're saying for you, ignorance is bliss. For you to know would be pain. For me to know would be bliss. So in a weird way, this is why the golden rule is often very difficult. Because you say do unto others as you would want done to yourself. Well, everybody's different. And sometimes the thing that you want isn't the thing that the other person wants. And so really the best way to interact is to know each other as most you can so that you can act in a positive way towards those around you. And that's, and so maybe that's it. Maybe at the end of the day, those are the conundrums and the questions we would be asking is, who the people who would be impacted by this the most, what would they want? And trying our best to make that decision for them. But again, I feel like it should be their decision. But you're right; it changes making the decision changes the decision. So yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's why it's fun.
That's the big thing.
I love movies that make you think, and I cannot wait to watch the rest of it.
Anything else beyond the philosophical discussions that we could have for another hour or so?
I'm going to assume there's no post-credit scene.
There is not.
All right. Assume correctly. Ian, did you have anything else you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I think that this might be my favorite Awkwafina performance. Generally she can be a bit too over the top for me and a bit too on the nose. She's always the person that's like, oh, hey, isn't that weird? Or very, very observant of the world that she's in. But I think she was perfectly used in this film and was a great grounding. The times that she comes in is when Cameron kind of goes off into something very philosophical and very what if, and then she brings him straight back down with a joke, just like, yeah, but you're gonna die.
There's a
grounding element to her.
There's a scene with a greeting card that is one of the best moments of
it's
the
so
movie.
good.
So, but yeah, no, she does really, really well in this one. I guess my one last thing will be back to future technology. I love that this movie foresaw the idea of screen life as opaque and not transparent. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm so tired of futuristic movies thinking we want to see through our screens. We do not want to see through our screen. That would be very distracting. So in this movie, the screen technology is interesting because it looks three-dimensional. It comes up all seemingly into the thin air. I imagine that's a process involving the contact lenses that you're wearing and whatnot. And it's a bit Minority Report in some ways, but it is definitely it feels solid and you can't see through it. And so thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I honor
Spike
that.
Jones definitely had a +1 on his trip to the future and took Benjamin Cleary with him.
Yeah.
Though I do
definitely.
have a slight nitpick with that. With the contact lenses, you shouldn't need physical screens because the contact lenses, with perspective, should be able to put the image in front of your eyes using
Correct.
perspective.
My understanding was those weren't physical screens. That
okay.
we were seeing kind of the idea of what they were seeing.
Oh, you might be right then.
That
Okay.
it wasn't like there were nanoparticles creating screens out of thin air. My understanding was that that their contact lenses were, showing
Got
that
it.
to them.
Oh,
Interesting.
I hope so.
Because I had the other way. I thought it was like there's nothing showing up on the screen, but for AR to work, there has to be a foundational, like 3-dimensional area for something to project onto to make it seem 3-dimensional. So I thought that it was like, yeah, there's like a wall there, and that's what it's like using as
No, but the contact lens would be that.
Yeah.
The contact lens is your physical thing. Just because of perspective, it looks like it's further away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
anyhow,
tricky.
technology's cool, guys.
There it is.
The movie doesn't clarify it, but it's definitely
No.
cool stuff to look at and think about and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. That is Swan Song. A recommend, I think, from the crew.
Yeah.
So that
so
is
far.
on Apple TV Plus. Before we head into the best ever challenge for the week, just a reminder that you can support what goes on in the world of Sif Pop by being a Sif Pop member. We do weekly member shows for some of our membership at certain levels. And you can check out all that information at patreon.com/SifPop. We talked this week about the Wachowskis' career and a little bit about our favorite Wachowski movies, our thoughts on the Animatrix, the Matrix sequels, lots of that stuff. Actually be probably a pretty nice primer into our feelings on Resurrections. So if you want to check that out, again, it's patreon.com/SifPop. If nothing else, just know when you become a member that you're helping us out and keeping the podcast going. And we appreciate you for it. So again, check that out, patreon.com/SifPop. All right, on to the best ever challenge.
Yeah.
Since there is big technology in both of these movies, let's do best ever technology movies. Now, this is one of those that everybody's going to define in the way that they want to define it. I think the intention is that the plot or story should revolve around some sort of future technology that we don't have right now. Obviously, there is future technology in a lot of movies where the plot doesn't revolve around that technology. So finding that line, we each may do that a little bit differently, and there will be a lot of grace on this one, I'm sure.
I feel like this was a direct reaction to last time where I trumped so much, and you're like, we're not going to give him the opportunity to trump at all. Let's make this as vague as possible.
As vague as possible.
Yes.
Now I want to clarify. I took this as future
no.
technology for when the movie came out. So older
Sure.
movies that show
Yeah.
future tech that is
Sure, that counts.
real
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I would totally count that. Yeah, if you had an older movie that showed future tech, that's great. So we'll go number 5 to number 1. Yes, you can trump anything that you have higher so that we can talk about it. I will say it is clear how much I love technology movies by the fact that my top 5 are all within my top 40 movies of all time.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, and even my honorable mentions, I didn't go past like 100. So,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get into it. Number 5. I'll kick us off, and I'm going to state the technology first, and then the movie title. The major technology that the story revolves around in this movie is the idea of crafting DNA, the idea of designer DNA, and that is Gattaca.
Good
Is
choice.
one of my first honorable mentions. God, this movie's so good.
Oh, I
This
forgot
movie's-
about this film.
This movie's great.
It
I'll
is.
sing the praises of Gattaca every chance I get. It is a very prescient movie. It really does feel like we are getting very close. And actually, we are already doing stuff with CRISPR and other things to impact DNA in very real ways. I think, we could be 10 to 15 years away from choosing the gender of your child. Like that does not seem crazy to me based on what we can already do. So Gattaca is my number 5. And by the way, I should have said biological sex, not gender. I'll just throw that out.
Nice.
Yes, Gattaca.
I love the line in this movie. Vincent, how are you doing this? I never saved anything for the swim back.
Yeah. It's
it gets me every time. It gets me every time.
Yeah. This is good stuff. It's good stuff. Ian, why don't you go next? What do you got at number 5?
Number 5. I'm going to do I'll do the same thing you do. So the technology first.
It's fun.
The technology is about predicting the future and using that to fight crime.
I know
which
where you're
is Minority Report. So that's my number 5. Yeah,
I had that honorable mentions.
This caught my attention. My very, very young brain. What's this? 2001, possibly 2000, something like that.
I think it was like 03 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I was 04 is what popped into my brain, but I'll look.
Yeah, you might be right. Anyway, I'm early teens.
Nope, 2002.
02.
Nice, yeah. So I'm 12 years old.
Yeah, all around that area. So
yeah, and this was the movie of that year for me. Like that caught my imagination. The scene where they're in the shopping mall and the precog is just like wait, just wait for the balloons to perfectly line up, and it's like a Rube Goldberg machine of people.
Yeah,
that is so tense and it's so well done. And yeah, it made 12-year-old me think. It was like, well, but they haven't committed the crime yet. Well, yeah, but they definitely will. Yeah, but they haven't. Yeah, but they will. Yeah, but no, but they haven't. It's like, yeah, but they definitely will commit the crime.
It's another conundrum movie.
It's so broken. Like, you can see why everyone is so, like, the criminals are pissed off. It's like, well, I won't do it, I promise. Yeah, but you did. But then on top of that, it's a great action adventure film as well. I love this movie. It's so good.
Agree.
My favorite scene is the fight in the auto shop, and they build the car around Tom Cruise.
Yes, it's so good.
And then he just sits up and he's looking at Colin Farrell and he drives off. Oh,
he's as surprised as anybody else that this is working.
Yeah,
so good.
All right, good. My number 5.
Number 5.
The technology. Space travel.
Okay.
To a galaxy far, far away. Interstellar.
Very nice.
Yeah. I've raved about this movie enough. We can move on. I mean, it makes me cry more than any other Christopher Nolan movie makes me cry. It's truly a beautiful movie.
Interstellar's a great one. All right, on to our number 4s. I'm still in the area of DNA with my number 4. In this case, DNA cloning and replication of prehistoric animals. Jurassic Park
nice.
is my number 4, and we will get to it later. So what is your number 4, Ian?
Mine is about creating new people. And whether you're able to tell that these new people are people or not, and whether certain knife sprinters can identify them as well. And it's Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Took me a minute.
Replicants.
Replicants. Loads of moral, loads of moral questions in this one as well. A beautiful, beautiful film. I know it's divisive, and I know some people, it is the Marmite of kind of sci-fi films. They love it or hate it.
That's the most beautiful metaphor I've ever heard for Blade Runner.
That's such a common thing over here to describe something as Marmite. Like you love it or hate it. Yeah, well, that's their slogan over here is you love it or hate it. They kind of lean into that. But yeah, it really is. It's the Marmite of futuristic sci-fi films. I love the what sits off of it. I just soak it up. It's gorgeous.
What did you think of 2049?
I love it in very different ways.
Okay.
For me, it honestly, it feels like it's in a different universe, and I love it as a film that it is. I don't love it as a sequel to Blade Runner.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not really a fan of the first Blade Runner, but 2047 is such a good movie.
49, but it's...
No, it's 47.
Is it 47? 24?
I said 49. I was probably wrong.
Oh, you broke me. Blade Runner 20?
Sorry.
It's 2047.
Don't worry about it. It's.
No, I'm worried. It's 2049.
Is it good? Good. I got it right.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Now Andrew's going to have to look. This is like...
It doesn't matter.
This is a Mandela effect kind of idea, right? Like like, when you can't like for instance, another good one is I was positive it's Sex in the City, and it's not. It's actually Sex and the City.
Yeah,
And,
not in. Yeah,
yeah, and just those kind of things was like, wait, what? Who changed that? Or Fruit Loops? The fruit is spelled with 2 O's, and it's like, no, it's not. It's
or
spelled with
the
U-O.
Looney Tunes.
Or the Berenstain Bears are actually the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah, Berenstain Bears. Yeah.
Looney Tunes is a good one as well, which is really mean because they are tunes, not tunes.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Beatles. This BEAT. No.
Oh, let's not do that. Come on.
All right. So I think we are on
My number 4.
Your number 4, Andrew.
Yeah. I'm still trying to wrap my head around 2049. I want to see that movie. It sounds good. And I didn't know that Denis made a 3rd movie or a 4th movie. Actually, he just went year by year. All right, my number 4 deals with nanotechnology. Avengers: Infinity War.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. All right, move on.
All right, will do. Let's see. On to our number 3s. This is where I have the technology of AI developing from our personal communication assistants, and that is her. I
thought you'd have it higher up, but all right.
Yeah, there's some really good tech movies. I love her very much. I love her so much. So yes.
That's such an interesting.
Yes,
I love her so much. I love her
in the context of this film very much.
Playing the pronoun game. So this is I've talked about it plenty of times, but Spike Jonze went to the future, saw what it was going to be like, and
took
came
Ben
back
Cleary with him.
Took Ben Cleary with him, and came back and made a movie. So just absolutely powerful stuff here about our relationship to technology and what it might be like in a world where AI is indistinguishable from human relationship. So yep. That's my number 3. What's yours, Ian?
So almost exactly the same description as you, but not from a personal device. This is technology around, creating an AI companion and how indistinguishable they can become and how real they can become. And this is Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Such a good
love this movie. Oscar Isaacs, Donald Gleason, kick all of the butt. The aesthetic between this and Swan Song really hit me. Like, it's not the same subject matter, it's not the same type of film at all, but the technology felt like it could have been from the same future. And I think that just speaks to having it quite stripped down, quite natural feeling, and just how technology will augment our everyday lives. There's not probably going to be very many oof moments. You get a few of those, but it's generally incremental steps. But yeah, fantastic film. Keeps you guessing all the way through. Massively rewatchable.
Yeah. Yep. Great choice. Andrew, what do you got at number 3?
This is my prehistoric DNA movie, Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Dino DNA. Sorry.
Oh, Mr. DNA? Where did you come from? From your blood. What a movie. It defined my childhood. The score is amazing. The visuals to this day are incredible. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of these movies, I'll just say this, a lot of these movies on my list have been on my list many, many times before. So I'm like, I just don't want to repeat myself.
It's going to be that kind of list for sure. On to our number 2s. My number 2 technology is the technology of creating and entering people's dreams.
Trump.
I have Inception and it gets Trump.
Oh,
All right.
I went with being John Malkovich.
That's a good choice.
How'd you know?
Ian, what is your number 2?
Well, crap. It should have been Inception, but never mind. I somehow forgot that movie exists because I'm an idiot. I have The Matrix. This is what. Oh no, damn. So the technology that's in it's about entering people's dreams and creating a different reality. It's The Matrix. Yes, it's a fantastic film. They probably should have stopped there.
It's let's give them the Animatrix. Let's
okay, fair enough. Fair. Of the things that I've seen, they should have stopped there.
Yeah.
Aaron,
Yeah,
you're not gonna trump
groundbreaking,
this?
all of the things.
Yeah,
all the
I am.
things we've said.
I am gonna actually trump this.
Well, I'm
so
done.
Not to give away my number one, but
Got it.
but yeah. Andrew, what do you got at number 2?
It was my number 2 as well. So now we can
Okay.
talk about it.
Now we can talk about it because it's time for my number
Nice.
1. It's The Matrix.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Yes. I think this movie is incredible. I already mentioned this in my top 10. I think I do have it at number 5 right now. I think for me, the main thing is the ability to watch this movie and have such deep thoughts about free will, predestination, the idea of what it means to be free, the conundrum of the steak dinner scene in this movie has stayed with me for my entire life. And I think it's very easy for people to say, of course, I would want to be free, you know? And it actually plays into our Swan song conversation about would you want to know or not know?
Yeah.
And again, for me, I would want to know, but I think I would still want to be in the Matrix, as opposed to in Zion. It's easy to say, of course, you would want to be free, but man, it's just there's something about the beauty of a world that's created that can be interesting. Now, the movie makes a good play for explaining why it can't be a perfect world, because we for some reason wouldn't accept it if it were a perfect world or whatever. But man, yeah, there's something really interesting about creating a meta reality, which, by the way, we're kind of headed that way. It really feels like once the technology...
We could be living in a simulation right now.
Yeah, well, yes. Beyond the fact that absolutely 100%, how would you know? How would you, know if this was a simulation or not if you were part of that simulation? So yeah, anyhow, Matrix is my number 1. Anything else you guys wanted to say about it?
No, just that the only true sequel is Free Guy.
Yes. Yeah, you got it. It's amazing how much Matrix Resurrections is Free Guy for about half the movie.
That was actually my last thing that I forgot about. I had to slip it in.
Yeah.
Well, except for the simple fact that Free Guy isn't a sequel
enjoyable?
that it can pull a quarter of its scenes from,
Yeah.
God, bad.
Yes, we're going to talk about Matrix Resurrections a little more. Actually, just as a side note, we're taking a bunny trail here because Aaron wants to ask a question. I, during Matrix Resurrections, hated the clip show aspect of it so much that it got me wondering, have I always hated it when a movie uses actual clips from other movies? And so I started thinking about this idea of there's almost a fourth wall break when you do that kind of stuff that happens. And so there's like this idea that if you want to reference parts of the story that have already happened and that we already know about, I almost feel like you have to shoot them from another angle, do something different with them, bring them to us in a different way. Because if you just use the clips, I all of a sudden feel like I'm like the movie I watched is also a movie in your world. Because why are you seeing the exact same angles I saw it from when I experienced it with the same effects? And
the frustrating thing is they do exactly that. They do recreate a scene.
Yeah.
But for a different reason.
Yeah.
So they had that idea. They just didn't deliver on it.
Yeah. All right. Shutting that down. All right. Let's move into Ian's number 1.
This revolves around time travel and using time travel to kill ungrateful children. It is Terminator 2 specifically.
Yep.
This is
not my mother, Todd.
Yeah. Easy money. I love this film. It's in my top 10. Gosh. It's so good. The best father-son relationship you'll ever see between a delinquent and a robot. Endlessly quotable.
That's a stacked category too,
Yeah, it kind of is more than you think it would be. I love this movie. Can't say enough good things about it. And I love Terminator 1 for different reasons, but this is a nearly perfect movie for me.
Yeah.
Yep. Andrew, your number 1 is
going into people's dreams. Inception. I'll say this on my list: The Matrix is my 15th favorite movie of all time. Inception is my 14th.
Okay.
Oh no!
So
That's
they
so
were
funny.
really close.
Yeah.
I just got some bacon down the wrong throat.
You have
Wrong
more
throat?
than one?
You have more than one?
That's amazing.
I'm like a bat. I got 2 tracheas. And 2 esophagus.
Yikes!
But
Esophagus.
esophagus, yeah. Inception. What a. This is where I think Christopher Nolan perfectly rides the line of high level thinking while at the same time being easily accessible by a mainstream audience. You know, I think with Inception, I mean Interstellar. I mean that one really pushed the bounds between people's conception of time and time delineation between because of gravity, stuff like that. It on multiple watches it makes sense, but it really it really takes possibly a couple viewings of Interstellar to get it all. But with Inception, you just go with it. I'm like, yeah, you're in a dream within a dream within a dream. It's such an amazingly beautiful concept that I just somebody told me this a while back, and I'm like, the entire movie is subtext. It's all like explaining how the rest of the movie is going to work, and by the time you get to the rest of the movie, it explains how the next part of the movie is going to work. And I'm like, this entire movie is just explanatory dialogue, but it works.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. In terms of level of difficulty, this is one of the biggest cinematic challenges in terms of like keeping the narrative straight. And it's one of the movies where I would watch it 5 times. Like, I know some people argue you should be able to get everything on the first run. Why? Sometimes I just say why, like, and even superficially, you can enjoy this film as an action adventure and get a lot from it.
Yeah.
And then it's so gratifying when you watch it 15 times and you just get more layers and layers from it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the movie revealing itself to you over time. I think there is something, if not wrong, at least impractical, about being a movie that isn't enjoyable the first time through.
Correct.
So, like, if it doesn't have, because then you are creating a situation where if a movie needs multiple watches to even enjoy it, then you're creating a situation where people probably aren't going to find their way to enjoy it, which, again, as an artist, you can certainly do that. I mean, and there would even be good... I can see good arguments as to creating art that way, but if you're looking for a balance of art and commerce, which movies usually are, it's certainly impractical, if nothing else. So I don't prefer it, but yeah, make the art you want to make. But yeah, Inception is definitely in the category of that's a lot of fun to watch, and then it just reveals itself, over time. So yeah.
Nice.
Agree. Well, there you go. Let's talk about some honorable mentions in this category. I will go with the invention of erasing memories as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Nice.
Probably one worth mentioning. Do you guys have any others?
Oh yeah. I'll let you guys go. Ian.
Yeah. So I've got another Ethan Hunt film. Ethan Hawke. Yeah, Mission Impossible. Predestination, which is one of the most... That is Ethan Hawke, isn't it?
It's Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, Predestination. Yeah, it's one of the most mind-bendingly, almost Primer-esque type of time travel films that you'll ever watch. I love it. It's great. Renaissance, which is a recent movie that I think I liked more than anybody else in the entire world. But yeah, really, really love that. Again, memories, but not deleting them, but holding on to them. And Wall-E. I'm not too sure what the single technology is that it's focusing on, which is why I didn't include it, but it's, I had to mention.
We could go with waste disposal.
That's kind of what I thought as well, but it seemed like a bit of a reach, so I buried it in the honorable mentions instead. And Tron, which is video games.
Yeah, totally. Andrew, go ahead. Throw some more at us.
Let's go with... we mentioned T2, Wall-E, Eternal Sunshine, Gattaca, Blade Runner, The Martian.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that would be my number 2 probably. But yeah, I think excluded it for being too generic, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Aliens.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a movie. I forget what her name. She used to be married to James Cameron. What's her name? She directed Hurt Locker. Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah.
She did a movie called Strange Days, which really was like the prequel to Inception or Reminiscence, really. It's all about digitally storing memories and stuff. It stars Ray Fiennes, Angela Bassett, and Juliette Lewis and Tom Sizemore. I actually thought this was a really good movie. I think it's a really good movie. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but I want to watch it again. So yeah. If you haven't seen Strange Days, it's a cool trip.
Very nice. All right, there you go. There is the best ever challenge for this week. Let's head into our buried treasure. Ian, you are the guest, so you will go last. Andrew, why don't you kick us off? What's that one thing in any area of pop culture that you want to make sure people know about?
Gonna go with a YouTube channel.
Okay.
By the name of Kalem, CA_LEM. If you're like me, you enjoy ASMR style videos, particularly like machining tools and like cleaning tools and restorations and stuff like that. Kalem is a young gentleman in Vietnam who, the only word I can really think of is he creates art. What he is doing is he's making his own tools. Like when I say tools, I don't mean like wrenches and, pliers or hammers. He's making milling machines. He's making lathes. And with the precision that he uses is nothing short of like perfection. He's like within like micrometers of like perfection. Like some of the, I don't know if you've seen some of these videos where like you'll see a square hole in like a piece of metal and like somebody will drop in another piece of metal and it fits perfectly to where you can't even see the seams. I don't know if you've seen those, that type of, yeah, it's so incredible. He is such a talented, and he's very young. And that's even more to the amazement of it all, is like, he's so young, but he's this talented. So I highly recommend it. It's Ka with CA, but the A has a backwards apostrophe over the A. I don't know what that's called.
Okay.
For the backwards. And then space LEM. No spoken words, no music or anything like that. Just calm, the sound of machines. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. My buried treasure for the week is a new show. I think they're releasing a few at a time. This is on HBOMax. Speaking of the future, called Station 11. And this, I think they released 3 to start with, and I think they just dropped 2 more yesterday. So I think there are 5 out. It is on HBOMax. And this is Mackenzie Davis.
I'm sold.
I was going to say, who, if you've seen her in anything, she's incredible. Halt and Catch Fire is my favorite Mackenzie Davis thing. In case you haven't seen that, it's good stuff.
It is.
Himish Patel is also in this as well, and an incredible performance from a child actor is kind of Mackenzie Davis's younger version. Matilda Lawler is her name. But this is a movie about a pandemic, and you may think, I don't want to see that right now. I am in a pandemic, and I totally get that. What's really interesting about this one is that this was in production before the pandemic, and
oh wow!
And so it's kind of been really weird for these actors to have been producing this show about a pandemic, then go into a pandemic, and then have to figure out a way to come back and do what's going on here. I will say, as to that, if you would be triggered by pandemic type material, the first episode is probably the one that's going to get you the worst. It is definitely, unlike other Walking Dead comes to mind, unlike other future pandemic type shows, this one does a really great job at showing you how things happened,
it like
making you really
Contagion?
feel, what's going on. It's more personal than Contagion. And what I mean by that is Contagion really is about the outbreak. This is about the humans and just kind of how they're processing, how they're figuring out. I guess it's not really a spoiler to say that there is a plane crash in the first episode, and it is completely from the perspective of our characters in a way that I've never seen before. And I just thought it was, I think the show is really well done and worth checking out. I will also say it's strangely optimistic, even though this virus is more aggressive and kills a much larger portion of the population than the current pandemic we're in. It is interesting to see how this show decides to jump around in time and kind of show us what the future looks like. So, it's showing us like a 20 to 30 year span of, how this pandemic has affected the world. And I think it's fascinating, kind of beautiful, and very human. So yeah. Reminds me a lot of The Leftovers. I don't know if you remember watching Lindelof's The Leftovers.
So good.
It has a lot of that feel to it. And, I'm excited to learn about these people and kind of what they're dealing with. So yeah, Station 11 on HBOMax, I would recommend.
How many episodes are out right now?
I think they dropped 3 to start, and I think 2 more just dropped last night. So I think there are 5 out currently. Ian, what about you? What's your buried treasure?
Surprise, surprise, I'm going to be talking about something Star Trek, which will shock nobody in the room. But yeah, this is a series of books, actually. And I've been listening to the audio books, and it's a Star Trek Coda series. And this is a trilogy of books called Moments Asunder, The Ashes of Tomorrow, and Oblivion's Gate by Data Moore, James Swallow, and David Mack. So all 3 of these authors are prolific Star Trek authors that have taken a lot of the post Star Trek The Next Generation timeline and carried it on as if kind of after the film Nemesis finishes, what does the world look like and what does the galaxy look like after that? Now, as Discovery has kind of like put Star Trek back on the map and more TV shows are coming out, they have drifted so far from the canon, in quotation marks, that we know they've decided to kind of wrap up the Star Trek literary universe and give it a full stop. Now, they may revisit it and do things in the past, but this is as far into the future that this timeline as we know it will go. And that's what the stories kind of build on. They cross over into all of the Star Trek series, so you have like an Avengers style team up of a lot of the Star Trek crews that you know and love, and you see characters that get to interact with each other that you never see interact on screen and you haven't seen interact in the books so far. So for me, that's really, really special. And the authors are the biggest Star Trek kind of information hubs that you'll ever know. So the references that they pull from are great, but they're always explained. So each story begins with, here's some key bits in the history of Star Trek that you should know. Now, if you haven't watched a single episode of Star Trek, it's not going to mean much to you, but they give you a great little refresher for fans that, hey, this point in time is something you should probably be thinking about right now. But yeah, really entertaining, brilliantly paced. You get kind of all of the stuff you love about Star Trek, but in stuff that we'll never see on TV, to be honest. So I've just finished book 2, and I can heartily recommend both of them before I've even got into book 3. Yeah, nice. Really good stuff.
So does each story take place around the same time, or is one like next gen, or is one Discovery? Or
no, they interweave all of it. So without too much spoilers, books 1 and 2 mainly focus on the post Nemesis TNG era. And you see people from Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and even the original series as well. And then book 3 deals with Picard, Discovery, and interweaving all of that as well. So it unifies everything to then kind of bring it to a close.
Okay.
It's big. It's huge.
Very nice. Star Trek Coda, Moments Asunder. Ian is listening to the audiobooks. I assume you can read printed
Yeah, you can
as
choose to
well.
read if you wish as well.
And Station 11 is on HBOMax, and Kalem is on YouTube, if you want to check all that out. Well, we did it, guys. We managed to plug in and do a podcast.
Yeah.
So congratulations to all. Thanks so much for joining us today. For Sif Pop, it is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out again today.
Well, thank you, buddy.
Big thanks to producer Phil for producing the audio and video show. Thanks to Drew for putting together some visuals for the video show.
Yeah, buddy.
And thank you to Ian for dropping by today, even with a cough.
I was here too. Yay. I'm sorry, Phil, for the amount of cost that you're going to have to edit out of this.
We are so happy to have you here, man. Where do you want to send people to on the internets?
So as usual, you can find me on Twitter, which is at Whitsinned. That's WHITTSINNED. But a quick shameless plug. I have a new podcast as well where somebody you may be familiar with, Danae Hughes. We are starting a Star Trek podcast called Captain's Pod, where we reintroduce Danae to Star Trek, starting with Picard for some strange reason. So we've got a few episodes in the bag. Episode 1 came out yesterday. So yeah, search for Captain's Pod, or if you search for Cinema Sins in your podcast player, it should find it as well. But it's a lot of fun.
Well, when you guys get to the next generation, you got to have me on.
Oh, we're having guests. We are having guests.
That is Captain's Pod, if you want to look that up wherever fine podcasts are sold. Thank you. There are a lot of ways to support and connect. First of all, you could do Patreon, patreon.com/SifPop. That's where you become a Sif Pop member. Starts at $3 a month. All sorts of fun stuff there that you can check out. You can also leave a comment, a rating, or a review wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts or wherever. You can also email us, feedback@sifpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like the show too. So make sure you let them know about it, and that listening is much easier than enduring being called Tiffany. We will be back next week with our most anticipated movies of what we think will be 2022. Actually, we're sure it will be 2022, but what we think about the movies that will be coming out during that year. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
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 All right. Let's see. Endgame says... had a question about the recent Sif spoils. Where can they be found? Can't find them on YouTube or SoundCloud like I used to be able to. Great question, in-game. We are no longer posting to SoundCloud. The YouTube will not have the spoiler casts. They would be in your podcast feed. You can get an ad-free version of the podcast feed as a Sif Pop member, or you can just subscribe wherever you do podcasts, and the Sif spoils are in that regular feed. So whatever works best for you, we appreciate it either way. Great to see you here. Let's see. Aaron hanging out with us. So calling it now. Aaron's number 1 is Gattaca. I think you must have popped in just after I gave my number 5 as Gattaca, but it's obvious that yes, I do enjoy that movie very, very much. Let's see. Evan says, the fact that this movie stirs so much wonderful debate should tell you how well it's did its job. Yeah, that was my point too, is just the fact that we can have that conversation means the movie is doing something really, really well. He also says, for what it's worth, Rotten Tomatoes is at 67% for both critic and audience score on Matrix. I assume you mean Matrix Resurrections, and that kind of blows my mind a little bit, but hey, everybody likes what they like. Frank says Matrix was horrible. I'm not allowed to talk about it on Sif Pop because I can't keep my comments clean on it. There you go.
That's why I had to type mine out.
That's why Andrew had to type his out. Well, there you go, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us today on the video. There will be no video next week because, like I said, we've already recorded the most anticipated episode, but we should be back with video soon after that. So we will see you guys then. Bye.